Hello everyone and welcome. In this video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the latest episode of Fear the Walking Dead. As always is the norm with my videos, I won't be holding back on any spoilers, so please do keep that in mind. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. You remember that episode on The Walking Dead which focused solely on Tara as she went to Oceanside? You know, the episode that pretty much everyone hated? Well, good news, because this episode is Fear the Walking Dead's equivalent of that. Yes, that's right, it's all about Al this week, and it's bad, and it's boring, and we don't really learn an awful lot about the helicopter group, so it is kind of a waste of time, really. Things begin with Al laying next to the woman who KO'd her last time around. And before you can say the phrase, Gimple the Pimple, Al is staging an escape attempt and unfortunately she gets held up by some walkers, at which point she is then knocked out again by new character Isabel. Al is then left unsupervised, tied up in a car, and she escapes again, and then Isabel catches her again as she attempts to hijack a helicopter. Now this all occurs in the first 5 minutes of the show, and already I was beginning to question Isabel's incompetence. I mean, you expect me to believe that this woman is entrusted with some top secret, highly important mission, yet she nearly lets her target escape twice in the opening 5 minutes. I think she needs some more training. Isabel herself has two main objectives that she needs to fulfill this episode. The first one is to destroy any footage that Al has, as they don't want people finding out what they're up to, and the second one is to refuel the helicopter and go back to base. So let's start off by looking at the first objective, that being the mission to try and destroy Al's tapes, or specifically the tapes that have footage of her and her group on it. Al rightly points out that she doesn't have a network, so it's not like these tapes are going to be seen by a huge mass of people anyway, and I'm glad she actually pointed that out because that was something that I thought of at the time. Al has no way of breaking whatever scandal she might have uncovered to the general public, so with that in mind, why does Isabel give a shit about the tapes? I mean, even if somehow Al could get this knowledge out to every single person left on the planet, they probably won't care. I mean, they're more occupied with trying to survive and not get bitten by walkers or killed by other dangerous people. They couldn't care less what this group are up to. And I don't understand why Isabel's group are so sort of scared of other people finding out anyway. I mean, there's no governments, there's no laws, no, UN or anything like that. So even if they are doing dodgy stuff, it's not as if they're going to get in trouble for it. So I don't really see why they're so concerned. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Isabel's second objective is to refuel the helicopter, and to get that involves her and Al having to scale up a big old rock in order to get to the fuel containers. Now I get that helicopter landing pads are, normally on tall buildings and structures, so if the helicopter did have enough fuel, they could have just flown up there, landed, refueled, and gone away, but that makes sense. But you would think that in situations where the helicopter completely runs out of fuel and can't fly to it, they would have had some more fuel hidden in an easier to get to area, not up a mountain basically. The rock climbing itself was okay, but I didn't really feel nervous about either character getting hurt or falling off. I mean, it does what it needs to at the end of the day, but it's got nothing on Jon Egret climbing the wall in Game of Thrones. To be honest, after this point in the episode, not a lot else really happens. They get the fuel, they spend a bit of time together, we learn that Isabel killed her previous partner because they knew too much, and now she's going to kill Al because Al knows too much, even though it doesn't seem like Al knows much at all because we as viewers still don't really know what's going on. But anyway, Al eventually does hand over the tape that Isabel wants to her, and she burns it. Before she burns it, Al asks her, do you want to check what's on the tape? And she says no, which is incredibly dumb. Would you like to check the super important tape that you want to destroy to know that it is actually the super important tape? No, that's fine, I don't think I will, thank you. So yeah, don't be surprised if Al has actually hidden the real tape somewhere and still has it. Maybe she put it up her bum. I don't know where that came from, sorry. After the deed is done and Isabel's objectives are fulfilled, she points a gun to Al's head and says that she's going to have to kill her. It was blatantly obvious though that Al wasn't going to die because Al is going to have to be the one who relays this information back to the group eventually, and I'll explain why I say eventually in a moment. So yeah, this scene was devoid of any real tension. I was confident that Al would get herself out of this tricky situation, but I didn't expect her to get out of it by shoving her tongue down Isabel's throat. That's right, Al turns around to Isabel, and then Isabel says something along the lines of, "You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," and then the two have a good old snog. Where the hell did this come from? I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe I was oblivious to the signs that they were giving off to each other, but I didn't see a hint of anything romantic happening between these two up until this point in the episode. I don't have a problem with this coupling happening, but it just happened way too quickly for me. So then we come to the end of the episode with both Isabel and Al going their separate ways, and Al reuniting with Morgan and Alicia. You remember that I said at the start of this video how similar this episode is to the Tara episode in The Walking Dead? Well, the ending of this episode pretty much parallels the ending of that one. In the same way that Tara doesn't spill the beans about Oceanside, Al doesn't give out any information as to what she saw and instead keeps it all to herself. Now my guess is that Al did this both to protect Isabel and to protect her friends. I mean, she doesn't want Alicia and Morgan getting caught up in something that is bigger than them, but I mean, I guess that's okay, it kind of makes sense, but it does go against everything that Al's character is about. Al has always been about discovering the latest story and finding out the truth, and yet here I'm supposed to believe that she lies to her friends to cover up for a woman she barely knows, and I'm just not buying it. Overall, this episode just felt like a massive waste of time for me. I mean, I saw some of AMC's marketing before this episode, and it was sort of posters and images of Al with writing on it saying, oh, Al's going to discover some big secrets in this week's Fear the Walking Dead, or, you know, words to that extent. And to be honest, what did we find out about this group? Nothing, really. We still don't know what this group actually does or where they're from and where they are at this moment in time, and with Al unwilling to give out any details, it's probably just going to be pushed to the back burner for the rest of the season now anyway. I've touched on this briefly before in past videos, but to me it just feels like Fear the Walking Dead doesn't have a clear narrative focus anymore. For instance, the end of the third season focused on setting up the upcoming conflict with the Proctors. There was a clear direction as to where the narrative was heading, and that was until the whole Morgan crossover thing happened. As a result of the Morgan crossover and the soft reboot-like storytelling that came with it, the narrative now can't make up its mind as to where it wants to go. Instead of the story having one clear goal which it wants to work towards, it's now got about 50 ongoing all at once. There's just so much that needs resolving at this point. We've got the situation with the kids. Are they good? Are they bad? And what are they actually afraid of? Last we saw of Daniel, he disappeared again and said that he has to go deal with something, and I'm sure that we'll catch up with him and find out whatever it is he's up to. Dwight is still searching for Sherry, and they've somehow got to fit that in as well. The truckers introduced in the season premiere have taken our group's denim factory from them, and, you know, by the way Alicia reacted saying she was going to kill them, I don't think she's going to let them take it without a fight, so that again needs to come up later this season. And then we've got whatever the hell this helicopter group is up to as well. It sounds really weird to say, but the show has so much going on, yet nothing happening at the same time. The story has become so bogged down by all these different narrative offshoots and trying to squeeze everything in that it hasn't really gone anywhere. I mean, can you really say that we know a great deal more about the characters and the groups that have been introduced this season now than we did 6 episodes ago during the premiere? I know I can't. There's nothing wrong with having complex stories and having layers to your storytelling, but Fear the Walking Dead just feels like it's being crushed under the weight of all these different plot points and narratives, and to be honest, it would just be better served going back to basics. It sounds a bit harsh, but the show is just a mess, and, you know, it's got so much going on at once, and it desperately needs to resolve some of these storylines to get a clear focus again, and if it doesn't, then I don't think the rest of the season is going to be any better. So that's the end of the video. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you dislike it? Did you think it was okay? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know below. But anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, as always. Take care. Till next time. Goodbye.